Hey friends, it's Self-Care Sunday and we are here together. Domino's also here. He has my hair in his mouth right now, so things are going really well for Domino. Hi friends. Okay, so did everyone get their workbook? I hope you did. If you didn't, and you're either here live or watching, if you're watching the replay, just message me and I can send it to you. And then if you're watching live, we're just going to go through all of the things in it so you can kind of just follow along. And then if you want it afterwards to actually go through it, just let me know and I can send it to you. But the workbooks are kind of just spaces for you to journal and go a little deeper with your thoughts and kind of be thinking about whatever the topic is. And today's topic, is this backwards for you all? I'm pretty sure that's how Instagram Lives work, but maybe it's only backwards for me. Doesn't really matter. But this week's topic is nothing standing in my way. So we're going to talk about the things that might get in the way of you in your self-care practice. And kind of working through how to move forward even if things get in the way, whatever that is. It is backwards and totally fine. Okay, perfect. Everything's perfect. So last week we talked about the ways that we feel taken care of. And so that was kind of to get you to the place where you have a list of basically self-care activities and like how you feel taken care of by yourself, by other people. And we worked through some of those things. If you didn't watch that, it is on YouTube. I could not get technology to work and I wasn't going to stress myself out about it. So it is on, I did get technology to work. It's online. It's on YouTube. Just message me and I can get you to the link to that. And I have a workbook for that as well. So get on the Love Notes list if you want to get these workbooks every single week. The link is in my bio. You get a lovely little love note from me and a workbook. And it's lovely. I love it. I like writing them. I hope that you enjoy reading them. What was I about to say? So that was last week's. And then today, we're talking about like what might get in the way of you taking care of yourself. And so what is in this, the first page is a brain dump. Look at this backwards, cute little sheet. Okay. And this is you getting out of your head all of the things that might get in the way of you taking care of yourself. So this, to clarify, taking care of yourself. So it could be like your morning routine, or it could just be feeding yourself or drinking water or connecting with friends, whatever. Again, like go back to last week's if you don't have your list kind of like the ways that you're taking care of and your self-care practices. But what gets in the way of you doing those things for yourself and making sure that you are taking care of. So this could be things like not asking for help might get in the way, like your thoughts around asking for help. Or asking for your boundaries, basically. Like if you're having trouble setting boundaries for yourself and setting boundaries with other people, that could get in the way of self-care. If you have a lot of thoughts about not prioritizing yourself, and we're going to get into that a little bit further in the workbook. Maybe you're just tired all of the time. That might get in the way of self-care, which is something that we can talk about also. I wrote binging Real Housewives. Now that can go on either spectrum. Sometimes that is my self-care and sometimes that gets in the way of me taking care of myself. So, the things that get in the way might also be self-care practices. Like sometimes you can indulge too much in self-care and it becomes, not obsessive, but it can become a little too much. Managing your time, not planning ahead, that might get in the way of your self-care practice. I know one thing that in the past I've struggled with a lot is I'll forget to eat or like conveniently forget to eat because I'm so busy and I just like don't have time. And there are a lot of things that get in the way that are causing me to not feed myself. And I've worked through those. And so now I do regularly feed myself, as evidenced by this banana peel, because I ate a banana before I came on here. I have other breakfasts too. Work, taking care of others, so prioritizing other people ahead of yourself. I love Domino, but right now this time is for Mom, and he has to understand that, and that's just the boundary that I've set with him. And you know, he's grumpy about it, but that's okay. It's okay for him to be grumpy that I'm doing something for myself. So yeah, same as any brain dump and same as last week when you were thinking about your practices. Go through this and just keep going until your brain's like, I don't really know, I don't really have any more to write down. And that's kind of your stopping point. And again, you can always come back to it if you think of something that you want to add on there. And this is just for your own brain to kind of see the things that are getting in the way, the things that you notice are getting in the way. And if you go through the week and you're trying to take care of yourself and you realize at the end of the night, like, oh, I didn't do X, Y, Z to take care of myself, you can then think back like, well, why didn't I? Like, what were the things that got in the way? Why didn't I drink more water? Was it because I didn't have water near me all the time? Was it because I just forgot? I didn't prioritize it? Like, what were the things? And just start to notice those for yourself, because that's where you can start to brainstorm, okay, well, what can I do differently? Why am I making that decision versus another decision? And the awareness is really the first step. So the next page is, what will you do when you don't feel like it? So when you just straight up don't feel like drinking water, doing yoga, going to bed early, like whatever the thing is that you've set for yourself to be self-care, what will you do when you just don't feel like it? How important is it, basically? And what kinds of things can you do to set yourself up for success in that area? What will you do when other tasks feel more important? So that's another way to look at it, is when you find yourself prioritizing other people or work or other things that you're doing over the thing that you're in this moment saying is important to you, this self-care practice. What will you do when other things feel more important in the moment? Can you use that practice of yes and, saying, yes, I will do this task that feels more important, and I only am allowing myself 30 minutes to complete it. And if I don't complete it, I'm going to go do my self-care practice and I'll come back to it afterwards. Or can you delegate something? Are you the actual only person that can take care of whatever this other task is that feels more important? You could delegate to someone. Or maybe it's actually not as important as you're feeling in the moment. A lot of times that happens to me, where I'm like, I need to do this right now. This is of utmost importance. And then I take a second to kind of think about it. And it's like, oh, I mean, it's not more important than me making sure I'm fed and watered and treated like a plant that needs to live. And so kind of piggybacking off that question, how can I make self-care the priority rather than just fit it in? So asking yourself, instead of just saying, how can I fit self-care into my day, how can I make it a priority? And we'll talk about that in just a moment. What will you do if others don't support your self-care? So maybe you're asking for boundaries and you're trying to set those and you're getting resistance. Like I said, Domino's very grumpy, and I could very easily just give into that and say, well, I'll just tend to him instead of myself. But I'm not going to, because I am prioritizing my own self-care, and that will help me in taking care of him, because if I'm not taking care of, it's going to be very hard to take care of him. And you can insert whatever seems more important into the place of Domino, though he is the most important. So yeah, think about what you can do if someone doesn't support your self-care, if they're not honoring the boundaries that you're setting. What are some things that you can do for yourself? What is within your control? Can you just not care, like what their response is? Or can you have a longer discussion about it? Is there another way that you could ask for what you need, or is there another way that you could get what you need? Kind of be thinking about those sorts of things. What will I do? Because that might happen. Someone might not support whatever it is that you want to do. And that doesn't make it not important, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, because it's up to you. What you want to do for your own self-care is up to you. It's not up to other people. And yes, we still exist in the world with other people, so, you need to figure out how to make that work. But it's not a reason to stop doing it. Okay, now we have another brain dump, because I find brain dumps to be really helpful, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. And like this topic this week is very much about overwhelm in various different ways, because that's kind of what, it's all that mental chatter that gets in the way of you taking care of yourself. And you might not think that these priorities and responsibilities that you have are mental chatter, but they are. And that doesn't mean that they're not important and that they don't need to be taken care of, but that it is your thought about it that creates the action that you're taking. So, I do think the domino is important and needs to be taken care of. And I can question how I do that, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? How will you make self-care essential for your day or your week? What's the next one? Yeah. Okay. So this is where you will brain dump all of your thoughts about how you are going to prioritize self-care. What does that look like in action? Get as specific as you can. Next week's topic is going to be scheduling in your self-care and topics around that. So we will go into that next week, because I think that's literally the first thing that I wrote on here is schedule it in. So that's kind of going to be next week's topic, but I want you to already be thinking about it. So how will you make it essential? How will you make it a priority? Some things that I said: schedule it in, ask for help, ask for the support that you need, make it a non-negotiable. So when you're scheduling your week, just as if you have this thought in your head, I have a 9 to 5, say whatever that looks like. My job has these hours, like this is when I go to work. That should feel no different than these are my self-care hours in the day. It should feel exactly the same. Like you're not going to not go to your job most of the time. If you're prioritizing that as your job, you're going to go to your job and feel about like, these are the hours that I work. And it should feel the same for self-care. Like these are the hours that I take care of myself, or like these are the tasks that have to get done. Just like brushing your teeth, or showering regularly, or taking baths, like whatever. But it should feel the same in that it is a non-negotiable. Like it is part of your week. It is part of who you are. It's not, again, it's not how am I going to fit it in, is how I'm going to make it a priority. How am I going to make this non-negotiable? Plan ahead for when you're not feeling like it. So I kind of was thinking about this the same as jumping into a pool. Like, the first time when it's not quite warm enough, but like you want to get in the pool and you hesitate and you're standing there, and eventually there's that decision where you're just like, I'm just going to go for it. Sometimes that's how I feel about various self-care things. Like I'll sit there and I'll be like, I just want to sit here and not do anything. I don't feel like journaling. I don't want to do yoga. Like I'm just feeling resistance for whatever reason. And I feel very similarly as when I jump into a pool, when I finally decide to do it. Like, it's just that, like, getting over that little hump of, like, I'm just going to jump in and do it. I'm just going to, like, grab my notebook and my pen and, like, jump in and do it. And it's just that mental shift of, like, I'm not sitting in this hesitation space anymore. I'm moving forward. I'm taking action. I'm doing the thing that I want to be doing. And recognizing that you feeling like it, or you feeling like so in the moment and ready and great, is not always going to be the precursor to taking care of yourself. I don't always feel like making myself breakfast, but I do it because I want to eat breakfast. And obviously there's like pieces of that you can make it easier or whatever, but the idea that you need to feel like it in order to do it is not really how it works. Like, you're not always going to feel like it, and that's not a reason to not do it. That's just how you're feeling that day. That's just a feeling. It's not a motivating factor. And you can question it and journal about it and, brainstorm ways to move through that feeling and towards whatever it is that you want. And also, it is okay to make a different decision. Like, if you read my email today, I talked about how earlier this week I was in a funk and I woke up and I was just like, I do not want to do yoga. I just don't feel like it. I don't feel good. Like, I'm really struggling to even, like, get out of bed. And I decided to do it because I know how I feel when I'm doing it and after I'm doing it. And I knew that that was a feeling that was going to support me in the feeling that I was having in that moment. And it didn't look how it normally looks. Like, I followed the video that I usually follow, and I was in child's pose half of the time crying because that's how I was feeling that day. And it still served me, and it didn't look exactly how it always does. And if I had decided not to do it, I, don't think that I would have felt as good as I did afterwards. Like, I did feel better for doing something with my body. But I also could have been just fine if I hadn't done it, knowing that that was an intentional decision. If I made that decision intentionally to say, today, I'm just going to rest and I'm not going to do this, and it is intentional, and it is not me running away from things. It is me nurturing myself in a different way. That also is totally fine and fair. And so I just want to say that, we can talk all day about how to achieve your goals and how to make sure that they happen and make sure that they're inevitable. And sometimes you don't take the action that you think you're going to, and that doesn't mean it's the wrong action, if that makes sense. So it is okay to intentionally decide what you are and are not going to do. And sometimes just straight up resting is what you need versus this idea that, like, I have to do yoga every single day. You don't. Who says that? Like, it's not mandated by anybody. It's your decision. And if you want to do that, cool. If you don't, okay, that's cool. So it's about having an intentional decision, not necessarily pushing through things that don't serve you. There are days where I don't do yoga because in that moment, it isn't going to serve me for whatever reason that is. And that's fine, and I feel fine about it. And not in the, like, I'm fine, but I really am fine about it. I feel neutral about it. Okay. And then the final brain dump in the workbook is, what thoughts could you have that will support you making self-care a priority? So, again, this kind of goes back to this idea that our thoughts create our actions, and if you're in the space of an intentional thought that's taking you forward, that will serve you more than having this idea of, like, well, I should do this, or I have to do this, or whatever thought that is kind of stemming from an external motivator. It should be internal. So here's some thoughts that I have, and maybe they will serve you as well. I am a priority. So when I'm saying these, think about it in the sense of what actions will follow if I'm thinking this thought. If I'm thinking I am a priority, what actions might you take? If that is the thought that's in your head and you're coming from a place of I am a priority, you're going to make decisions differently than, well, everyone else is a priority before me. Like, I have to take care of everybody else before me. You're going to take different actions, and it's a choice to believe these thoughts instead. So I am a priority. Self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is community care. Taking care of myself serves me and others. I am setting a good example when I prioritize myself. I am worthy of this time for myself. Self-care is necessary and indulgent. So I do want to question kind of this idea that it is essential, but I don't want to have anybody have this feeling of, like, well, I have to do it because it's essential. I mean, yes, it is an essential thing to do, but it's also okay to feel indulgent about it. And that I don't want it to like self-care to start feeling like homework. Like, it is something that is meant to nourish, and that is an essential piece to your day. But if you get caught up in this idea of like shoulds, that might not serve you either. So self-care is essential, but it is also indulgent, and both of those feelings about self-care are fair and valid and will likely serve you. I can't pour from an empty cup. And then I just had the thought of take a breath. Like, if that was kind of your thought about self-care, that might serve you in some moments to just say, I need to take a breath right now. Okay, so those are all of my thoughts. Does anyone else have any other thoughts about self-care? I'd love to hear them. My coffee is cold and has a dog hair in it at this point, so... Any other thoughts, feel free to share them in the comments. I have some other questions that kind of came up for me as I was going through this workbook. So I'm just going to share some of those to kind of get you thinking about other aspects of it. Like, if you're struggling with the brain dump of what will get in the way of self-care, what has stopped you in the past? And how could you have prioritized in a way that would better serve you? Thinking about how will this serve others. So if you're struggling with the thought of I'm a priority and self-care is community care, think about how will this serve others if I'm taking care of myself. You don't need anyone else's approval. And what's the worst that could happen if someone doesn't approve of your form of self-care, or when you're taking your self-care, or what's the worst that could happen, and like what would you do then? Our thoughts create our actions. So I said that before. Look for the evidence that the belief that you're working on serves you, and understand that that might take time. So if you're struggling with one of the thoughts of connecting to that, just start looking for the evidence that it might be true, and eventually you'll start to see it more and more, and it will serve you. This one's good. What would make this a fun and easy choice? So when you're feeling in the moment, any sort of resistance towards your self-care, ask yourself, how could I make this fun and easy right now? So, you know, if your self-care is yoga and you're struggling with that, how could you make it fun and easy? Maybe you have an essential oil that you spray in whatever form, and that smell makes it easier to choose to do it. Maybe you are struggling with wanting to journal, and so you find a really pretty pen, or like you put on the music that you really enjoy, you light a candle, you set the environment to make it feel really fun and easy. So just start thinking about that. Like, whenever you're struggling with doing anything, just think, how can I make this more fun and easy? You'll think of something, I assure you. For the making it essential of my day, engaging a friend to take part in that piece of my self-care, for accountability, companionship, and being able to spend time with that friend. Yeah, totally. I love it. Definitely, like, your self-care doesn't have to be fully alone either. Like, I recharge mostly by myself, but not entirely. So a lot of my self-care is making sure that I have time to myself, and you might relate to that. But there's also a large piece of it that is connecting with others, and that is part of your self-care. That's also part of community care. It is care. So yeah, absolutely. Like, how can you include someone else in this? That might be part of how to make this fun and easy, right? Like, I don't really feel like doing yoga. Maybe my friend will FaceTime me and do yoga with me right now. I don't know. Maybe you can both FaceTime and journal together and like listen to music and just like be in a space together, even if it's virtual. I don't know. Come to art night. Is everyone coming to art night? I'm very excited for art night. And book club. So many fun events coming up. But thank you, Nicole. Yeah, that's a really good point, and I really love that. That it is important to recognize how to include others in that, and that can be a very important piece of making self-care sustainable and fun. And then kind of piggybacking on the idea of, the belief of I am a priority. If you already believed that you were a priority, how would you schedule your time? So if you're struggling with a belief, you can kind of think about it in that sense of, if I already believed this, what would be the actions that I would already be taking? And can I take them now? So those are some extra questions that you can ask yourself. Some bonus, not in the workbook, live questions. And I also, as I was writing my notes today and going through the workbook, I was thinking about how different, going through it was really interesting because I'm in such a different place than I was before, even a few months ago, even 2 months ago, to be honest with you. I was still really struggling with having a consistent yoga practice, which for me is very important. It doesn't need to be important for anybody else, but it is important for me. And it was interesting to see, I was kind of I had to really go back when I was what are the things that are getting in the way of self-care being a priority? And I had to say, I really had to think about it because I don't have a lot of things that get in the way anymore because I've worked on it so much to say, this is my priority. It is a non-negotiable. And it's just what I do. It's a part of my day. It's not even a question anymore. The parameters of what my self-care looks like every day might change, but the fact that I'm doing it every day is not a question in any context. And that's just such a different place than I was before. And it has taken a lot of me examining the things that I'm doing, the choices that I'm making, the beliefs that I have to get to this place now where it's just not a question. It's just who I am. And so I just wanted to offer that it takes time. It takes practice. It takes... Domino's being really cute. It takes being committed to yourself and gentle with yourself. And also seeing the effects of the things that you're doing and being really honest with yourself about that. So I was really committed to doing meditation every day, and I just didn't see the effects that I was really looking for myself. And so I allowed myself to say, maybe this isn't important right now. Maybe it'll come back to me later, but it's just not that important right now. And being okay with the fluidity of what self-care looks like for you, I think was really helpful for me. It might be helpful for you to not feel like it needs to be a rigid routine, but rather a nourishing routine, and that it is okay that is fluid. And there were some things that helped me, which was making sure that I carved out the space and time for myself. And part of that was waking up earlier. And I'm only saying that because that worked for me. You absolutely do not need to do that if that does not work for you. Wherever you find space for your self-care is perfect. For me, it is much easier for me to take care of myself in the morning and then move throughout my day. It is much harder for me to make the space for it in other parts of my day. And so I leaned into that, and I just decided, Domino and I together decided that waking up earlier was important. So I can't say it was wholly my decision, because I've tried waking up an hour later than I had been waking up, and guess what? It doesn't happen. Domino is ready to go at 6 a.m. every single day. So that's when I wake up. You don't have to do that. But if that's something that you do want and you want some tips on that, let me know in the comments, and maybe I can add that into another live and we can talk about how to wake up earlier. Because it took some time for me, but now it's just not a problem for me to wake up at 6 every day. I mean, every once in a while I stay up a little bit late, and then 6 a.m. is like, okay, that's a lot, but not very often. Okay. What is everyone going to be doing for self-care today? I really want to know in the comments. Let me know. And how are you going to make sure that that happens? So let me take a sip of my cold coffee. It's not cold brew. It is now. I don't know. Yoga and making postcards. Yes. Oh, I think I'm doing postcards tomorrow. I've been thinking about that for like a week and I haven't done it. So I love that. I'm also going to do yoga right after this. I usually do it earlier and I didn't today. I woke up with cramps. That surprised me. So I've been taking it a little easier this morning and I'm excited. Tarot and cross stitch. Yeah, I did pull a card, kind of just a general message. I pulled the 3 of Swords, and the message that kind of came to me about that today was to not indulge in the drama and to not, for lack of better words, like don't break your own heart. So don't, for myself, like this was the message that I got. So if it doesn't resonate, that's totally fine. But just don't engage in the drama of things and don't let yourself get caught up in the thoughts that don't serve you, basically. Like it kind of goes directly into what we've been talking about. I also met another person today that cross-stitched, a couple people actually that cross-stitch. And I just love it. It's so cool. So I really want to see your cross stitch. So if you share that at all, please tag me because I love them. Yoga via FaceTime with a friend. I love it. I love that so much. The other day, I wish I could have taken a picture, but I was using my phone to do the yoga, so I couldn't. But I was doing yoga and I did like a side plank where you like rest your hip on the ground. Like, I don't know what you call that, but I did that. And as I rested my hip, Domino put his head on my other hip and just laid it there and refused to move. And it was the sweetest thing that he's ever done. He's knocked out right now. He's so cute. Cool. I love all of these self-care things. I'm excited to hear how it all goes. I know, he's just the cutest. I'll show you. Does everyone want to see Domino? How do I... Oh, there. Okay. 1 second. Oh, he woke up because I was talking about him, but... He's so cute. Yeah, I already journaled today. What am I going to do? I'm going to do yoga. I think I'm going to make some lunches for the week. Because I made a dinner for the week, but I haven't made lunches. And spoiler alert, the next topic is going to be meal planning. So you heard it here first. Okay, so a couple other things that I did want to say is book club book has been chosen. So if you were on last week and you said yes to book club, very excited. It's called Something Like Happy by Eva Woods. I'm really enjoying the book so far. And you can get it a bunch of different places. I got it from the library. You can buy it from a local bookstore, which is great. And then the only other thing that you need to do is show up to the Zoom call. It's May 20th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it'd be great if you joined Love Notes because I'll be sending out updates via email for that. And I'll post it on social media also, but it's just a really quick and easy way to get that information. So the Love Notes link is in my bio. So book club, that's exciting. I've been reading that every night and at work when I have time. Then, and art night is going to be, not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, May 6th. And that will also be via Zoom. I'll send that out to the list as well. There's a Facebook event, and then you can just message me. If you want to show your art, which please, I would love it if you would show your art, just message me, and I will get you on the list of artists so that I make sure that everyone has a time slot to show their art. And then you can show it, talk about your art journey, how you got to where you are, whatever you feel comfortable with, obviously, but we'd love to hear that. And then share how we can like buy your art or support your art or whatever that looks like. And then at the end, my friend Caitlin, who I don't think is on right now, is going to lead us in an art activity. So bring some paper and pens or pencils or whatever your art form is that you enjoy the most or want to explore. And that should be super fun. And then I also announced yesterday that I am taking on some clients. So if you want 6 weeks of free coaching, message me and I would love to work with you. And we could really set up a solid self-care routine for you. We can talk about meal planning if that's a thing that you're into. We can talk about your big goals and dreams and get those action plans in place. So just message me if you are interested in that. And I will be live again next week. We're going to talk about planner jamming and how to schedule in your self-care and how to schedule your day, your week, your month, or even your year. That's not how that song goes, but hey, here we are. So that'll be next week. Make sure, again, love notes. That's how you'll get the workbook. If you missed today's or last week's, just message me and I will get that to you. I am so excited that you were here. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for participating. Thank you for journaling and taking care of yourself and being here. Domino really appreciates it. Right, Domino? He's just like so passed out. It's so cute. I can't wait for next week. And yeah, let me know if you need anything in the meantime. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I will hopefully have this uploaded later, but who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Every day's a new journey, right? Okay. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. And tag me in your self-care practices because I really, really love to see it. It just warms my complete heart. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. I think I need more coffee. You are so welcome. I love you. Okay. I will see you all next week. Bye.